Have fun.
So firstly, tell me, how did you get involved in the movie business? Were you always interested in directing or working behind the camera?
Uh, Boy, how to get involved in the movie business? I was, it's funny because a friend of mine sent me a trailer to an old horror film. What's his face? Larry Cohen made, called The Stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a um, I guess I can say this. It's a terrible movie, But I mean, it's like just a really goofy, cheap, like B horror film, um, but it's 30 years after it was made, I think, and someone sent me the trailer, so that says something. And actually, in my history of dramatic studies or whatever teacher, when I was at SUNY Purchase as like a kid, had like a tiny part in it, and he was the first person that I met that was in industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the way that he was in industry. He had one tiny, like one line, one scene part in the movie The Stuff, and that was really exciting to me. But boy, how'd I get interested in it? I was always well, my dad had a dark room like in our house when I was a little kid, and so I was always around photography, and I was always around photography and started doing video stuff as soon as I had access to video equipment, and then and I had thought I wanted to be like a lawyer or a psychologist or something like that. But I just I gravitated towards art, I think, as much as anything, because it's more fun and easier than than those things, for me anyway.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You got it. What was your first camera?
I'm glad you sent these ahead of time, because I had to think about it, and it was a VHS format, full-size RCA video camera, like that brand RCA. I don't even know if it exists anymore.
So like in the 90s?
Yeah, no, it would have been in the, I'm kind of old actually, and it would have been, I think, in the 80s. I think it would have been in the 80s. Yeah, it would have been in the 80s actually. And after that, at some point around then, there were the Fisher Price Pixel Cam cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember those. They Fisher Price made a video camera that what did it run on? I can't remember if it ran on audio cassettes or anyway, there was like a really crude, it's called Pixel Vision. You can, if you Google it, stuff will show up.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah, that was kind of like the punk rock camera to have at that point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it was VHS, which now sometimes, I teach too. I teach filmmaking at Emory.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll show movies that I made when I was the age of my students, and like inevitably someone will say, "I really like the vintage look of it,"
That's awkward.
Yeah. It took me off guard the first time, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, thank you for that thing. That was because I'm old.
Right. You're not that old. How are you holding up with Corona? Has it made it hard to work or give you more time to think of ideas?
Yeah, it's tricky because I'm like it becomes more and more clear to me each year that I'm an introvert. It's actually like I like being on set, and I like being around people when I'm working, but by and large, I would just rather be by myself,
Solid, yeah.
So Corona's really served me well in that sense. Because I get to spend a lot of time alone, and I also, when I have meetings, I have them like in my, this is my kitchen, or I could go to my studio and be in my studio, and there isn't a lot of driving to and from and whatnot. So on a personal level, it's mainly been good, and it's exciting. I make like horror and crime stuff, and so hopefully everyone walking around in masks and being concerned about a virus killing them is interesting. But having said that, early on, my uncle was really old, was in a hospital in Brooklyn, and he
Sorry.
died when they were moving him to set up the COVID wards. And you know, it's a terrible thing, but in terms of the impact to my immediate family and me, it's been, you know, in terms of the impact to me, the personal impact has been that I've gotten to spend more time alone, which I'm like,
That's nice. Yeah. I'm an extrovert, so I like lots of stuff.
yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Like it started to make sense to me when I can't remember, it was maybe a couple of years ago, they started talking about how extroverts get energy, they get energized by being around people, and introverts get energy by being alone.
Hmm.
You know, when I really have to like gear myself up to, you know, go to a party or to, you know, get drinks with people or something like that, it's not something that I'm like, yeah, this is going to really make my day.
Right. It's exhausting. You have to kind of prepare yourself.
I guess for some, yeah, for me, for
Right.
some other people, it seems like it's just, you know,
I'm
the
not a
best
party
thing
person really, but if I know ahead of time what I'm doing, who I'm seeing, that's, easier. I don't know if
yeah.
that's an actor thing or an arts thing or
Yeah, I don't know. But in any case, yeah, I'm mainly an introvert, so
that's good. So this is very helpful then.
yeah.
As far as 2003's Wrong Turn, which everybody loves, you mentioned that it was a 1970s style horror movie with a deliverance feel to it. Was that movie specifically one of your inspirations? Texas Chainsaw, any real life mysteries, true crime?
Yeah, you know, they're doing the reboot of it now, so I've been thinking about that. And
Are you
you know,
involved in it?
no, I'm not involved in it.
Mhm.
Which, you know, I'll get residuals because of it, which is good, you know, but it's not, I haven't been involved in the series for some time.
Mhm.
But you know, that when Wrong Turn came out, the horror films, a lot of them were kind of winking at the audience, tongue in cheek, sort of uh, silly films. And I was really interested in sort of 1970s era, like very heartfelt, um, sincere, you know, meet people, care about them in
Mhm.
terrible circumstances. Uh, and that was what we were trying to do with the original Wrong Turn, was that. And Deliverance is an example of that, certainly. And you know, I had posters up. The production designer Alicia Kiwan, who's just an angel, she got movie posters that I wanted to put up, and they were of the original Alien, and let me think, the original Alien, The Exorcist. What was the other one? We didn't have Deliverance.
Mhm.
Um,
You'll think of it at 3 a.m. in the morning.
yeah, yeah, I'll think of it like well after this. But the point was to try to make a movie where the audience felt like that, you know?
Right, right, where they felt for the characters. They weren't just people screaming on the screen and getting killed, and you felt like there was a story behind there.
Yeah, I think people get uncomfortable, you know. There's a really interesting experimental film that Stan Brakhage made called the Act of Seeing with One's Own Eyes, and it
Mhm,
was he said it was supposed to be sherbet for your eyes, that people's vision gets deadened and we don't really look closely at things.
mhm.
And he got a bunch of footage. I think he had taken it because he did work as an industrial filmmaker of autopsies. And it's a montage of different footage of autopsies, and sometimes it's a negative and sometimes it's flipped upside down,
Mhm.
and it's very hard to look at.
Yeah.
And you know, when it's upside down in a negative, it takes you a moment. Your brain has to actually look at it and think about what you're seeing, and then you're like, oh my god, that's, you know,
What am I watching?
yeah, someone's chest is being cut open. um, but it and you know, when that movie plays at like a museum or whatever, because that's where it plays, people, they laugh nervously, you know. And I think
Mhm.
that sometimes people who make horror films make they're uncomfortable making them, and so they don't make them sincerely, you know.
Right, right. Shock value, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was a thing that we were trying to avoid.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, it definitely came across as that. I liked Chris. I liked Jesse. They had real stories, you know. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's also the actors too, what they put into it. I
that's
know
what I was going to
Elijah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
a lot more to do with, I mean, you know, I appreciate all the writers that worked on that,
Oh, for sure.
but it was the actors were invested in the parts. They were committed to the parts, you know.
Right. I was watching the making of Wrong Turn yesterday on my DVD, and Elijah Dushku, she said that if something wasn't right for her character, she'd ask you and maybe rewrite it or so it sounded more like Jesse Burlingame.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which was yeah. I always try to do that with actors because I want them to believe what they're doing, you know.
Right, right,
I should qualify that. I always, because sometimes I do like true crime TV, and
right,
there's times when you don't have the time to do that with actors, and you have to that's harder, you know. It's harder if someone's not giving a sincere performance and you don't have the time to fix it. But on Wrong Turn, we had the time to work that stuff out, you know, and we had the time to rehearse too. We had like two
right.
weeks, two weeks of rehearsals, you
Oh,
know.
that's good. That's good. How long did it take to make the film?
40 days. I think they were, boy, I want to say they were 5-day weeks. It was 8 weeks of shooting. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Is that normal for a film or
Depend, you know, there's no normal for
right? Like the
it's
standard.
yeah, yeah, it's a circus, and there's, you know, it depends. It all depends. I mean, you look at like Marvel movies and they shoot them for a year, you know.
Right, right,
And then some really good films get shot in like 10 days. So, but it
right,
was enough time to get to do effects and gags and things like that.
right.
And actually like to get to work on performance, which was cool, you
Hmm.
know. Like there wasn't someone who was saying one take is enough, you know.
Yeah.
We could, which happens, you know. It
Right,
happens.
right. Those aren't that fun because you're like, oh, well, there's a detail here I could have used and maybe stand them this way or move that tree branch, like you have different visions.
Yeah, or you just see an actor almost get it and not get it.
Right,
You know, you can
right.
see it on their face, like you're watching them, and yeah, there's a, you know, on set there's a thing where the assistant director calls last looks, and that means that
Mhm.
all the departments, you know, look at everything that's going to be filmed, like hair and makeup and costume, and everybody, they're all looking, you know, at the actors and everything else to make sure that it looks good. And then after that, like the very last looks are the director's looks at the performance while it's filming, you know. Like I'm
Right.
the last
Definitely.
person that's trying to protect the performance. And when you don't get to protect it, that's, I'm actually getting teary-eyed about this.
Oh,
When you
no,
don't
it's fine.
when you don't get to protect it, that's hard, you know.
Right, right.
So
You want,
when you see that someone could do it and they didn't quite get there, you know.
right, right. You think, oh, this could have been it, let's do this. This is my film.
Yeah,
Everybody's film, really.
yeah,
Think
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But that's a really good explanation. Thank you. I love how you made the characters pop. They had real personalities and real problems rather than just running around screaming like maniacs, as we talked about earlier. Did you have this idea for the film before it was written, or was the script just plopped down to you and you're like, hey, this looks cool?
So yeah, it's that movie was Stan Winston,
Hmm.
um, God rest his soul, was he had an executive named Brian Gilbert, who, God rest his soul. No, Brian Gilbert is alive and working. That was just,
Yep.
he hears this. But Brian Gilbert was Stan's executive, and Brian was and still is from Ohio, and Alan McElroy, who wrote, you know, the original draft, was also from Ohio, and Brian reached out to him and got the project, and then Stan and Brian got two other companies on board. Actually, I want to say three other companies, and so, and there's a thing called ODAs, Open Directing Assignments, and you know, the agencies keep databases of all the projects that they're looking for directors for,
Oh, that's
and and so I found that script. can't remember if I found it, or my agents knew that I wanted to make a horror film, and they sent me, that was one of the scripts they sent me, and I got excited about it, and then I had to meet with, at that point it was 3 different companies I met with, to get approved by.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, it was 3 different companies. Sorry, the reason I'm
No, it's
repeating,
no worries.
well, the reason I'm repeating that is because
It's like memory lane for you.
yeah. Well, the thing I was memory laning is that when I first went to meet Alan McElroy, I got to, I can't remember. It's across from Cedar Sinai, maybe Jerry's Delicatessen or something like that. I don't think that was it, but it was something around there.
Mhm.
And he was a black man, and to be completely honest, I was surprised because no one had said that to me.
Mhm.
And one would think if you're doing like that sort of movie that doesn't have any African American characters in it in
Right.
like 2000, that someone would say that the writer is a black man. But but I was delighted to get to meet with him and work with him. And I was lobbying for uh, a non-white lead, and it was a hard fight that I lost.
Right, right.
And one of the things they said was that you can't sell, this is 20 years ago-ish, I guess, but that you have to have, American films have to have a white lead for overseas sales. And which I didn't get initially. I didn't get it initially. And then like I did some research, and I was like, Night of the Living Dead is like one of the top grossing films in Japan.
Right,
Black man in the lead.
right,
And I realized it's not that people overseas didn't want to see an African American lead. It's that the guys who buy and sell the movies didn't want to see it.
right. That's odd. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why that. Anyway, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but it was,
I can always cut it out if you need me to.
I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, that's odd. I'm sure it's changed nowadays, though, right? More progressive, or
I mean, it is, but how much more? I don't
right,
know. I don't know when those guys go to like their steak dinners at Cannes or whatever, how that works.
right,
But I mean, there's more movies around the world with non-white leads, so
right,
it has changed at least a bit.
which is good. So, what was it like working with Elijah Dushku and Desmond Harrington?
Well, so Eliza, well, I adore Eliza, and I've worked with her since then, including on Alphabet Killer, and I would work with her again in a second. She doesn't want to make movies right now because she's doing, I think, a master's or PhD in psychology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is awesome. And
Yeah.
I always I've always appreciated Eliza. And the thing about Eliza too is, like, I didn't get Eliza initially. Like, she was one of the actresses that they wanted to have to finance the film. And I had a lunch with her, and and the thing about Eliza, and this is true of some actors, men and women, that there are some people that you meet them and initially you're not in love with them, and then over the course of 5 minutes or 15 minutes or an hour, or in my case several years, people realize that that was a joke, but
I
people
think you never know.
people get more and more charmed by the person. And I literally, while I was sitting at lunch with Eliza, kept looking at her, and I thought that her face kept changing because I thought she kept becoming more and more beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, and more and more beautiful and charming. And And in the middle of that lunch, Desmond appeared by coincidence
Wow.
to say hi. It wasn't a coincidence, but it was just like
Right.
weird. He was really trying to make it happen, with Eliza, and
Right.
he he acted as though it was a coincidence because I hadn't been told that he was going to show up, but somehow he found out we were having a lunch and showed up at it. And
Wow,
yeah,
you're allowed to do that?
it's not that you're allowed to do that. It's the Wild West. There isn't really a way to, you know,
Right.
stop. I could have been like, this is an outrage, but no, it was fine. And they were both people that I really wanted for the movie. I'd met
Right.
Desmond a bunch of years before, and he had um, wanted to work with me, and I'd wanted to work with him. And then it was funny with Desmond though, because people didn't want to do that movie for like a lot of reasons. It was like a cliche horror film, and
Right.
didn't want to do it for that. And then the early drafts of the script had, when they're in the cabin, this is kind of a strange standard, but when they're in the cabin and they're watching their friend being cannibalized,
Yep.
I hope that's a spoiler. I mean, that's a spoiler, but it should not much of one. But
I think everybody has either seen it by now. If they haven't, that's their problem.
yeah. But when they're in the cabin and they're watching their friend being cannibalized, initially there was necrophilia. Like when
Right.
they're under the bed, they're having
Francine, right?
yeah, but they're having sex with Francine's body on top of the bed, and
Right.
that was cut out of the script
Thank
because
goodness.
they were having trouble getting people to agree to play the mountain men,
Right.
because no actor wanted to be known as the guy who raped the corpse and Roger. And that got cut out of the script.
Mhm.
And it was, I spent I think it was like 4 hours. I was driving around. I was already prepping in Toronto, and I didn't have the male lead cast yet or the female lead. And I think I spent 4 hours on Canadian Independence Day, like driving. I bet I drove, I don't know, 200 miles while I talked
Wow.
on the phone to Desmond, trying to convince him to do the movie. And I think I just tired him out. Because he finally out of the blue was like, okay, let's just do it. It'll be fun. And, you know, but he gave me a lot of reasons not to do it. So, and then once he was on, he was, full on board. Like he wanted to make the best movie he could.
Right.
So,
Right.
including showing up at Eliza's lunch. So.
I think that's, if anybody did that these days, they'd be like, they get bodyguards or,
Yeah,
but he was
yeah.
a fellow celebrity. So you think, oh, it's okay. You knew of him. So it's not like some random person.
Yeah. They could sort of get away with it. I guess he did get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, he got cast in the movie. So Stan Winston, of course, is a legend, is on the film too. That must have been amazing working with him. Please tell us everything.
Oh, boy, what about Stan? Well, Stan was Stan was Stan was a charming and kind man, and he was a charming and kind man, and he was very smart, and he was also very um, accessible. Like a lot of the executives on that production were, um, there was a lot of, I'll just say it, there was a lot of, do you know who I think I am? Sort of
Oh,
bravado, you know, and so they were hard to, there was a lot of, I'm top dog, I'm gonna, I need to piss on the hydrant, you have to do
mhm.
this thing or that thing. But Stan was not like that, and I don't think he was ever like that for anybody. He actually, and he was a smart guy, and he said, everybody has a shtick. You have like the awkward nerd shtick, and and he was like, and he listed some other people on his shticks, and he was like, and I have the kind grandpa shtick, and that's what I do. And I don't know how old he was. He was maybe 60 something. Like
Mhm.
he could be a grandfather, I guess, but
That
he
is
could have,
young, though. That's younger.
yeah, he could have been. And in any case, I mean, he was a weightlifter. He was a, you know,
Wow.
muscular guy, but he was just kind and friendly, and he would, when he had notes, he would pose them in a way that you were being partners with him, you know, if you did his note. And um yeah, I'm trying to think what to say. I mean, he made, you know, he made like half of the creatures that anybody that listens to this will have seen in movies in their lifetime. I
Mhm.
that's like not an exaggeration. You
Mhm.
know, I don't think. Um, so and the other ones were inspired by stuff that he did, you know. He I mean, yeah, he made the Terminator, he made Jurassic Park, he made Beetlejuice, you know, he just like made everything. Um yeah, so I don't know, but you know, I actually he didn't like the way I parked, and he didn't like the way I parked, and he would he was a car collector, uh and he was very particular about car things, and I would park by like very carefully going, I would not carefully, but
Yeah.
I would do it in one, like I would go well, put a higher and like park in the parking spot, you know. And I would consider a real achievement if I did that and got between the lines, you know, without slowing down, I guess. And he didn't mind how fast or slow I parked, but he didn't like the way I parked. And he told me, you know, you park really well. You park really well. That was a nice parking job. You know, there's another way to park where what you do is you turn as if you're going to hit the car to your right, and you stop, and then you back up and go straight into the space.
Hmm.
And since he told me that, which was, I don't know, 20 years ago, that's the way that I park. Because
Wow.
just because I want Stan to approve of me, you know.
Oh.
So yeah, so that's Stan. You know, and I don't know if this is true, but he, you know, he died of like a rare blood cancer, like a blood cancer that I think it's more common in the African community. Like it's not common for white guy to get it. And I have a suspicion, and it's just a personal suspicion, that's because of all the chemicals he was around all the time, you know.
Mhm.
Like he was building so many things that involved you know, latex and
Right,
also
right,
weird castings. And
right.
I think it may have been part of him dying early. So
That's awful.
yeah, yeah, he was a good guy. And he had like 6 Academy Awards, you know, like literally.
Right. That helps.
Yeah. He actually, not that guys have much of a choice in this, but before I had my daughters, I was wondering whether it was a good idea or not, because I never knew, you know, when you're freelance, you never know when you're going to have money, when you're not going to have money. And I had all
Right,
these
right.
thoughts about it. And I was in Stan's office. This is what Stan was like, is I went to Stan's office after Wrong Turn was made to ask him whether I should have kids or not. Like,
And what did your wife say?
well, yeah, but here's the thing: is like Stan had this office with all these characters like everywhere, and he had like 6 Academy Awards with lights over them, and he said his children were his greatest achievement in his life.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, yeah, isn't that that's pretty great? Yeah, so I figured since Stan gave it the thumbs up, it was probably a good idea. So,
Well, congratulations on your daughters. That's great. You must be very proud of them.
yeah, no, they're awesome.
Good, good. What was your favorite project that Stan did? A movie or
You mean besides Wrong Turn?
hmm?
You mean besides Wrong Turn?
Yes.
Boy, boy, I don't
Something that
know. You know,
mhm.
I mean, they did a bunch of Tim Burton movies. Him, Shane Mahan, you know, who was his right hand, um, who runs Legacy now, that does a lot of big studio films,
Mhm.
visual effects, and but Legacy is named for Stan Winston. Basically, it's
Mhm.
like Stan Winston's legacy, you know.
Right.
Um, Boy, it would be hard for me to say, but I will tell you, and this is it's a totally good film. It's not like an amazing film, but a thing that I would see at Stan Winston Studios a lot, which is basically like a giant workshop, like complex of workshops and
Oh,
things,
neat.
is yeah, they had the physical work they've done for What Lies Beneath, the corpse and the
Oh, I love that movie.
ghost. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Piper.
Well, yeah, well, they had that stuff, and like their thing was figuring out how to make digital effects organic by having organic elements in them.
Right.
Like instead of making it like a cartoon, like having organic bases and then like supplementing them with digital, and that was, I mean, I think that's pretty much where it's at. Like I like seeing, a fancy all digital effect, but I don't like seeing it that much. Like, to be honest, I don't really like seeing it. Like I want to see, I don't want the effects to look like a video game. I want them to look real,
Right. Right.
you know, and that was what they were trying to, that was what they were striving for
Mm-hmm.
in the work they were doing. And that was, so I didn't exactly answer your question, but,
Close enough. You see like a variety of different things, which is even better than just one thing,
yeah, well, in any case, regardless of the film, the work that they were doing that was the most important to me was that concept,
Mm-hmm.
to make digital effects feel real.
Right. That's good. We don't see that a lot these days. It's more just CGI everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, which is too bad.
It is. It's more in TV shows like The Walking Dead and, Z Nation, and well, that's not on anymore, but they have more like special effects rather than just pure CGI. I wish the movies would get back into that.
Yeah, every once in a while someone talks about doing it, but then they don't, so.
Right, right, right. Just sort of hearsay. Can we expect a Wrong Turn sequel with the original cast, maybe? No, they don't want to do it.
Well, I mean, Eliza wouldn't do it. Eliza wouldn't do it. And um, I don't know if the other folks would do it or not, but Eliza wouldn't do it because she's just not into acting right now. But
Right.
it would be hard to, I don't know, I have to think about that. So
No worries. That'll be something to think about.
yeah, and honestly, on the foundation, I mean, I know Bill Sage who's in it. Hi, Bill. But I haven't. I've seen the trailer, but I haven't seen the movie yet. So I don't know. I don't know how it is. Do you know anything about it? There isn't even much chatter about it online or anything.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard much about it either. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a couple of weeks away, so we will find out soon enough.
Yeah, we will. What do you think about the sequels? If you're allowed to say that.
Yeah, I mean, they're just different.
Yeah.
There was when Wrong Turn was made, that was at the height of DVDs being making money off of DVDs. Which sounds like, what's a DVD? But there was literally a time when like they would make more off the DVD release than they would off the theatrical release from movies. That time being 2003, and
Right.
they made a strategic choice to do straight to video rather than do more theatricals with Wrong Turn.
Right. I know Wrong Turn 2 went straight to DVD.
Yeah, yeah, and that and it's just a different aesthetic, and I can't. It's not the type of horror that I like.
Yeah.
But it's sustained. I mean, they've made 6 of them, so
Right. Yeah. People
yeah,
just keep wanting more.
yeah, yeah. So I can't. I'm very happy that they're doing that. So
Right, right. Yeah, that must be flattering. I mean, you basically started it. It's like the Resident Evil films. They just kept going.
yeah, yeah, or
But
Hellraiser or something like that.
yeah, there you go. Hellraiser. That's a good
Yeah.
yeah. Why did you cut the scenes of Jesse and Chris kissing?
Stan did that actually, and I just acquiesced because he's so charming. No, I mean, I kind of did, I guess. It was Stan felt like people, and I don't actually, I've thought about this. I thought about this because you asked the question actually, and I don't think I thought
Mhm.
about it since then, until you asked that question. But I think that he was wrong actually.
Mhm.
Like he thought that people who are on the run for their lives will not stop to kiss, which it's true. It's true if someone has a gun and they're chasing you, you're
Right.
not going to be like, hey, this is a good time for us to kiss. But but that's not what was happening, right? They were like hiding in like a contained place
The
that
waterfall, I think.
the waterfall, yeah, that they couldn't leave, for hours. So they had nothing to do except be next to each other and hope that they didn't get killed. And like honestly, having thought about it since your question, that's like a very suitable time to kiss.
Right,
So
right. I aim to ask questions that nobody else asks.
well, that was the one. No, I really appreciated your asking that because I
Yeah,
think I
sure.
think that was right. That was like, yeah, but like, and the truth is that Stan argued successfully that that shouldn't happen and they should just be on the run.
Right, right.
So.
It's too bad there's no sequels for that. We could have seen that. I
Yeah,
like those characters.
yeah, I do too.
Where would Chris and Jesse be now? Because I know they were like, "See you later." They took the map and just pieced out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they leave together like
Right.
that. Yeah, boy, I don't know. Where do you think they are?
Oh Lord, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
trying to think. I don't know. Maybe trying to start over.
yeah. I mean, that's a lot of trauma, right, to go through.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder. Maybe I don't know. They could have tried to track down like a detective or something to help figure out what is really going on over there. I don't know. Try to take the mountain men down.
Oh, that's
Three Finger's
interesting.
kind
Yeah,
of a
I guess.
dick, so
Yeah, I suppose those two would want that to get settled.
right. So no other people had to deal with it because I mean you saw the climbers in the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah, and the car graveyard, right?
Yes, all the phones, all the I was like, whoa. These people were just going at it.
Yeah. So no, that's interesting. Um, yeah. I mean, I suppose they would go back, right?
I guess. Yeah, probably to help people. But
Yeah.
would you want to go back? That's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to, and
No,
no one
because
would
you burn
approve of
down the
you doing
cabin. Yeah.
it.
What
Yeah.
let's see. How was it to work with Eliza again, the Alphabet Killer? That was actually a pretty good movie. I liked it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that. The that movie, boy, it was um working with Eliza was great. Like I love Eliza. I'd work with her, like 100 times in the future. But I will tell you that a thing about Wrong Turn is it had like a lot of, I think there were three major companies with executives like all over the place.
Mhm.
And I think there were like five companies total. And we would get so many notes and like notes would contradict other notes. And, it was in some ways it was good because there was a lot of pressure to keep it scary all the time. Like that was a good thing. That was a good thing that came out of that, was that pressure. And in some ways it was just really hard. Like it became about like, managing a kindergarten of people that have a lot of power but are acting childish. Um,
Right.
but on Alphabet Killer, they a regret I have about Alphabet Killer. I do like, personally, I do love the movie Alphabet Killer too. A regret I have about it is that it was they edited a version of it while I was editing, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, that's
They
strange.
made their own. One of the companies made their own cut of the film, and then they test screened it, and my cut tested higher than theirs.
Good.
Well, that was good. It was good. But then
Yeah.
after that, there was no one around to stop me from doing like, I think I'll have this fade to black last 10 seconds, you know, like these, some things that were a little bit too indulgent. Like, I think like every once in a while, I'm scanning on the, you know, the TV, and I'll see that movie's up, and it'll get to one of those where it pans off of like a ghost or whatever in the darkness.
Right.
And it'll sit in darkness, and I'll be like, cut,
Right.
cut now. And it,
Cut now. Every time now.
and so that's what producers are for, good producers, to stop people from doing that, you know.
That's good. That's nice. It's like a little ace in the hole right there.
Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with the cast still?
I talk to Eliza, you know, pretty regularly. I message with Desmond and Jeremy Sisto pretty regularly. I did a thing called Fran K, which they're making a feature version of it now, or I should say, they being me and a production company. So we are making a feature version of it now. But Jeremy was going to be Dr. Frankenstein in that, you know, but then he got the what's it called, FBI, like literally a week before we started shooting.
Oh, it's a bummer.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But we got a really good actor to replace him. But yeah. So I don't talk to Emmanuel just because it just hasn't been a thing. I think we're Facebook friends. You know. Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess I do keep in touch with, you know, the principals.
That's good. I love Jeremy. Clueless.
Yeah.
Of course, I love him in Clueless.
So,
you also did Masters of Horror for those newer to the show, despite, you know, it being super old. Tell us a bit about the idea you had for the specific episode, Right to Die, how it came to fruition.
oh yeah.
Why you wanted to direct it.
Wait, so the last thing I didn't hear it.
Oh, why you wanted to direct it?
Oh, I just you know, there'll be when I'm making something, I get really tormented and think it's terrible and struggle and like feel a lot of pain and all that. And once they're done, they're like all my children, and I'm like, oh, I love that. You know,
Right.
I love Alphabet Killer, and I was just about like to say, oh, I love Right to Die. But I think I made a Lifetime movie that I love. So my standards when it's my own stuff become very, you know, low, I guess. But no, I think that but I do think I like that Masters of Horror episode quite a bit. And they were looking for an episode for me because I was, you know, one of the like horror guys at that point.
Right.
And that one, it you know, it had to do with euthanasia and well, the right to die, and that was something that, you know, I've been interested in actually throughout my career, and actually I've been working on a documentary on this is going to sound pretentious. Well, PTSD and trauma in caregivers during the initial period of the AIDS crisis, you know. And a number of those interviews have had people talked about, you know, euthanizing people and whatnot. And so, and this was like a dark comedy about that, and you know, which was awesome. And Martin Donovan's someone I've worked with a few times, and I really enjoy working with him, and he seemed like a great person for that part. And I did some rewrites on it with a writer that I like, Larry O'Neill, and I think it's kind of funny. I think that character is really funny because he's such like a meatball. I don't know. Yeah, I can't really say how it came about. I mean, it came about because they were assembling writers and directors, and that company, Industry Entertainment, like was doing this jigsaw puzzle, and at some point they were like, "Rob, you do Right to Die," and
Mhm.
I looked at the script and I liked it and I liked the content, and then they let me do a bunch of rewrites on it, and they let me cast a bunch of people that I liked,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was the point of that series was to let people kind of,
Right.
it was to let this is a pretentious French word, auteurs, horror auteurs like make movies that the way they wanted to make them.
Right.
Um, and they honored that. Like they were like super supportive, and they actually there were like digital effects that I wanted to add
Mhm.
afterwards, and they were like, this is costing more than the budget, and then they were like, this is costing more than any other episode, and I was like, please, please. And they gave me the effect, so
Wow, that's
yeah,
nice.
yeah, they were super nice. Those folks were like so nice on those, and they I think they made some really good episodes, so
Yeah, they did.
yeah, it's like a cool series. Yeah.
Awesome. What are your greatest inspirations or idols in terms of directors or anybody that's really inspired you to do this as a profession?
Hmm. Boy, I like the whole like DIY sort of punk rocky make it yourself
Right.
sort of culture, and and I like really heartfelt work, like work that feels emotionally authentic, and um there's a lot of that. I don't have like a single or even like just a few filmmakers or artists that um, I would say these are the people that I am trying to emulate. I there's so many people that I love. I will say that I hope it's still there at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Like there's a section, a surrealist section. They have a good surrealist collection,
Ooh.
and
Mhm.
at the very back, at the very end of the museum, there's like a wall, and there's like a hallway that the lights off in it, and it looks like it's like another wing of the museum that is closed,
Mhm.
and you go in there and there's like a wooden door, but it's like the type of wooden door you'd see in like a Spanish dungeon,
Oh, wow.
and it has like a peephole. You look through the peephole, and there's this I want to say it's a woman's corpse in like a stream, and you're like kind of at ground level. I can't remember exactly,
Right.
and I think it might even be like the stream might be one of those. Is it a zoe? It's not a zoetrope, but one of those things like it has a lamp in the middle and it spins. You know,
Oh, 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 yep,
by
yep.
them in Chinatown, and it's an installation that Duchamp made posthumously. Like apparently at his on his deathbed, he described to his disciples this thing that needed to be built, and they built
Wow.
it after he died. And it's just that's so great. Like I like stuff like that is really inspiring because it's strange, and like it's the most exciting thing you'll see that day at the museum.
Right.
And um, and you could make it yourself in your basement if you wanted. You know, so
I'm gonna have
I
to check that out. That's cool.
yeah, I hope it's still there. I mean, you have to check and see. I think it's called Waterfall. I mean, we could Google it,
Wonderful.
but I'll save it for you to do later if you care to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely want to check it out. Is there anyone you haven't worked with yet that you want to?
Boy, there are loads of people I would like to work with. I just I like supporting actors. I like supporting actors and seeing them perform.
Mhm.
And anyone who's like really sincere about doing that and can deliver a performance, I'm just like so thrilled. Um, I remember once on a TV show, you're always under the gun, at least on the shows that I do. And I I knew this guy, this actor could give a better performance. He was a a heavy set guy, and he was soft. He was a soft person, and he was trying to make a very scary person leave his property, and he had a gun
Oh my God.
that he was frightened of aiming at the guy, and he was telling the guy to go. And I remember asking, we were over, we were we were in overtime, and I knew he could do a better performance, and I got him to I got him another take, and you know, when he did it, and like it was great for me. Like
Right.
I knew that he had gotten it, you know, and the AD, you know, they're the foreman of the production. They're just trying to get it done on time and on budget.
Hmm.
And the AD after the take said, you know, to the you know, cast and crew, he was like, he was like, okay, so that is a cut, and it was worth it. And it was like, it was just nice to be like vindicated, you know, like he recognized that it wasn't just about getting the line, like that the performance was better, and that would make the audience's experience better.
Right. Right.
And so I'll work with anybody with pleasure who will make the make the audience have a better experience, you know,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does definitely. What can we expect in the future? Do you have anything you're working on? Any ideas you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a bunch of stuff I'm trying to get going. You know, it seems like it usually, this sounds lame, but it usually takes me about 5 years to get a movie to happen. And and you know, like as I said, I made you know, I made a pilot called Fran K, and the company is reforming it as a feature, and then I have so that one I can definitely talk about. I mean, I am talking about, and
Yeah.
and then I have a bunch of other stuff. I have horror stuff, and I have film noir that, like, you know, has producers attached, and we're going out to talent on, and there's an anime that I'm waiting for a
Oh,
script on, and there's like a little contained modern noir actually that a script is due today, or I get to do the rewrite myself. So that's
wow, that's fun. That's a
yeah,
little project.
yeah, yeah. So I'm keeping busy, you know, and then I teach too, obviously.
Right, right. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. That's great. That's great that you're helping other people too and teaching them things that you know and what not to do too. I wish I had that, when we were like kids, like, you go to school and everything, but you wish that you had somebody that could be like, well, you really shouldn't do this at such and such time and you'll get into this eventually and what do you do if this happens, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I went to a lot of film school. I think in undergrad. In undergrad, the film teachers, they didn't have that much experience. You know, they
Right,
had more experience teaching than they had making stuff. And then in
right,
grad school, I was at AFI, and it was, you know, it was people who were working, so it's a different experience. But
right, right,
yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have people around who can tell you, yeah, don't try to shoot, you know, 6 setups at magic hour. Just
right,
simple, practical things like that.
right. Yeah, to guide you a little bit because all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what do I do now in this situation years later, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice
Yeah.
to lean back on those lessons. So you were saying about the art museum and things like that. Where would you go? Anywhere in the world, like the catacombs of Paris, anywhere.
Yeah, I've been a lot of places. I've been all over this great big world. No, from, that's from
I've been to Canada, that's it.
a
I
oh,
want to travel.
I've been to Canada a lot. You know, the place that I haven't been is Africa, and especially sub-Saharan Africa. And I would love to get to go there after the COVID thing is over.
Hmm.
Just see all of that stuff. And I'm actually I have Italian citizenship, but it's not documented. So I'm trying to get my Italian passport now so I can leave this fucking country. No, so I can
I don't blame you, dude.
so I can maybe, you know, look to live over there for a bit.